He was a billionaire, powerful, untouchable, and feared by everyone who worked for him until one day, a small envelope landed on his desk. No gold seal, no fancy handwriting, just a child's shaky letters that read, "To Mr. Barton." At first, he almost threw it away, but something stopped him. Inside was a message so pure, so unexpected, that it tore down the walls he'd spent his whole life building. And what happened next would change not just his life, but every life around him. This is the story of a little girl's letter, and the billionaire who finally learned what it means to feel human again. My name is Kevin Barton. If you looked at me from the outside, you'd think I had everything. A beautiful penthouse overlooking the city, a luxury car, my name etched on the glass doors of Barton Tech, a billion-dollar company I built from nothing. But the truth, my life was an echo chamber of board meetings, polite applause, and silence. I hadn't felt warmth in years, not since Nancy left. Nancy was the only person who ever looked at me like I was human, not a paycheck. But I let ambition win. I traded love for success, promises for promotions. And by the time I realized what I'd lost, it was too late. She was gone. It was a gray Wednesday morning when my assistant told me there was a child waiting in the lobby. A child, I frowned, signing a document. Who let a kid in here? She says it's urgent, sir. Something about a letter. I almost said no. I almost told security to escort her out. But something, maybe curiosity, maybe guilt, made me stand and walk toward the elevator. When the doors opened to the lobby, I saw her, a tiny girl, no more than 7, clutching an envelope in both hands. She wore a brown dress that looked a size too big, and her hair was tied in 2 uneven braids. Her shoes were scuffed, her eyes wide but brave. "Mr. Barton?" she asked softly. "Yes." She held out the envelope. "Can you read this letter for me? Mommy said it's very important." Her voice trembled slightly at the word mommy. I took the envelope gently. My name was written across it in delicate, looping handwriting. Nancy's handwriting. For a moment, the world tilted. I could hear nothing but the soft hum of the lobby lights. My fingers shook as I unfolded the paper. The smell of lavender clung faintly to it, her favorite scent. "Kevin," it began. "If you're reading this, I've already gone where you can't follow yet. Please don't be angry. I wanted to tell you everything in person, but my time ran out faster than I expected. There's someone I'd like you to meet, our daughter, Dorothy." My throat tightened. I looked down at the girl Dorothy and suddenly saw Nancy's eyes, Nancy's quiet strength, her curious smile. "She's a bright little soul, Kevin. She loves painting, pancakes, and the sound of rain. I told her stories about you, how brilliant you are, how deeply you can love when you let yourself. I know you're not the man you used to be, but I hope this letter helps you remember who you were. Please take care of her, not out of duty, but love." By the time I finished reading, my vision blurred. Dorothy tilted her head. "Mommy said you'd help me," she whispered. "She said you're a good man." And for the first time in years, I couldn't speak. The next few days blurred into something surreal. I had lawyers verify everything. DNA tests confirmed what I already knew. Dorothy was mine. She moved into my penthouse the following week. A world of glass and silence that suddenly echoed with the sound of laughter and small feet. She filled the place with color, crayons on my desk, little notes taped to the fridge. "Good luck today, Daddy." She called me Daddy by the 3rd week. I didn't correct her. Mornings became different. Instead of rushing to meetings, I found myself braiding her hair, badly, and burning pancakes while she giggled uncontrollably. I started learning the art of slowing down, of sitting through her bedtime stories, of saying no to one more meeting just to watch her draw rainbows on my office whiteboard. But in quiet moments, when she'd fall asleep clutching her teddy bear, I'd look at her and whisper apologies she'd never need to hear. Nancy's absence hung like a shadow. I often caught myself glancing at the door, expecting her to walk in with that knowing smile. Instead, I'd only hear the faint hum of the city below. One evening, Dorothy came into my office holding a folded paper heart. "I made this for Mommy," she said softly. "Do you think she can see it from heaven?" I swallowed hard. "I think she can see everything, sweetheart." She smiled, the kind that heals and hurts at the same time. "Then she knows I'm not sad anymore, because I have you now." I turned away before she could see my tears. 2 months later, I attended Dorothy's first grade talent show, the first school event I'd been to in decades. While other parents chatted, I sat alone, awkward in my tailored suit among plastic chairs and juice boxes. When Dorothy walked onto the stage with her little painting easel, I felt my heart race. She painted a picture of 3 figures under a rainbow, a woman, a man, and a girl holding hands. "That's my mommy, my daddy, and me," she said proudly into the microphone. "Mommy told me if I ever got scared, Daddy would hold my hand." Applause erupted, but I barely heard it. That night, I placed the painting beside my bed. For the first time in years, I slept peacefully. Life with Dorothy had changed me in ways I didn't think possible. I had spent years building walls so high that even I couldn't climb out of them. But somehow, a 7-year-old girl with paint-stained fingers and a smile like sunrise had found the door and walked straight in. It had been 4 months since she arrived. The penthouse no longer felt like a showroom, it was a home. Her drawings covered the fridge. Her laughter filled the quiet corners. She even made my assistant, Linda, start bringing cupcakes to the office every Friday for Daddy's team. My employees had never seen me smile so much. But life, as I learned, has a cruel way of testing every bit of happiness you dare to hold. It began one cold morning when Dorothy's school called. "Mr. Barton," the principal said, "your daughter fainted during class. She's at the nurse's office. We believe it's just exhaustion, but you should come." I left a meeting mid-sentence and raced there. When I reached the nurse's office, Dorothy was lying on a cot, pale but smiling faintly. "Daddy, you came," she whispered. "Of course I came," I said, kneeling beside her. The doctor arrived shortly after and recommended some tests, just to be sure. At first I thought it was nothing. Kids faint. They get tired, skip meals. But when the hospital called me 2 days later, my world stopped. "Mr. Barton," the doctor's voice came through the phone, calm but heavy, "your daughter has a rare heart condition. It's congenital, something she was born with. We'll need to monitor her closely." I sank into my chair. My chest tightened. I stared out at the skyline that once made me proud. It now felt meaningless. How serious is it?" "There are treatments," he said carefully, "but it's progressive. We'll do everything we can." Dorothy's laughter echoed from the other room. She was humming a tune to her teddy bear. And that's when it hit me. Nancy must have known. That's why she'd written that letter. That's why she'd asked me to take care of her, because she couldn't anymore. Over the following weeks, I buried myself in research, meeting with specialists, flying across cities for second opinions. I told myself I could fix this. I was Kevin Barton, CEO, problem solver, builder of empires. Surely I could save one little girl. But medicine doesn't bow to money. It doesn't care for power. Dorothy remained brave through it all. Even during hospital stays, she'd draw on the windows with erasable markers. "Look, Daddy, it's us flying in the sky," she'd say, her little heart monitor beeping beside her. I forced a smile every time. "You made us look perfect." She'd giggle, "That's because we are." One night I found her awake, staring out the hospital window at the rain. "Mommy loved rain," she said. "Yes, she did. She told me it's heaven's way of washing away sadness." I nodded, holding back tears. She was right. She turned to me with her small, serious eyes. "Daddy, do you think Mommy misses us?" I swallowed every second. Then we should smile more so she knows we're okay. Her wisdom cut deeper than any truth I'd ever heard. Months passed. Between boardrooms and hospitals, I became a man divided. My company began to struggle, investors were restless, deadlines slipped, but I couldn't care less. Susan, my longtime partner and public face of Barton Tech, confronted me one evening in my office. "You've changed, Kevin," she snapped. "You're distracted, the company needs you." "The company can wait," I said coldly. "She's not even," she stopped herself, realizing she'd gone too far. I stood up, my voice sharp as glass. "Finish that sentence." Susan faltered. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean." "Yes, you did," I said, "and that's why you're no longer part of my life." I ended things that night, for good. Dorothy had unknowingly done what no one else could. She'd made me human again. But even miracles have limits. It was spring when her condition worsened. She tired easily, often falling asleep mid-story. The doctors tried new treatments, but her tiny body was losing strength faster than they could rebuild it. One morning she woke me up by tugging at my sleeve. "Daddy, can we go to the park today?" "Of course, sweetheart." She smiled weakly. "I want to feed the birds again." We spent the afternoon under blooming cherry trees. She laughed as pigeons crowded around her crumbs. I took pictures, trying to freeze every second. She wore her little brown dress, the same one she'd worn the day we met. At one point she looked up and said softly, "Daddy, do you think Mommy's proud of us?" I felt my throat tighten. She's more than proud, she's smiling every day. She nodded, "Then I'm not scared." That night when I tucked her in, she handed me a sealed envelope. "Mommy told me that when I get brave enough, I should give this to you." I froze. "You mean she left another letter?" Dorothy smiled. "No, I wrote this one." She turned over, hugging her teddy bear. "Promise me you'll read it later," she whispered, eyes fluttering shut. I promised. Hours later, as rain began to fall outside, I sat beside her bed and opened the letter. It was written in crooked letters, misspelled words and all. "Dear Daddy, thank you for reading Mommy's letter that day. Thank you for finding me. I'm not scared anymore because I know you love me the way she said you would. If I ever go to heaven, I'll tell Mommy that you're the best daddy ever and that we're both happy now. Don't cry too much. Just look at the rain and smile. That's us saying hi. Love, Dorothy." Tears fell onto the page, blurring her words. I stayed there the entire night, holding her little hand until morning. Morning came softly, too softly. The rain had stopped and sunlight crept through the blinds in faint golden lines. For a brief moment the world seemed still, peaceful, almost sacred. Then I realized Dorothy hadn't moved. Her chest rose, but faintly, too faintly. The monitor beside her beeped irregularly, each sound a slow dagger. "Dorothy," I whispered, touching her cheek. It was warm, but her eyelids didn't flutter open like they usually did. Her teddy bear was clutched tight against her chest. The nurse came in seconds later, then the doctor, then more people. I was pushed back gently, the room filling with urgent whispers, the mechanical rhythm of machines fighting time. But time had already chosen. And when the monitor gave one final tone, long and unbroken, the world inside me collapsed. The funeral was small. I didn't want cameras or news stories. I didn't want condolences from people who never knew her. Just a quiet ceremony under the cherry tree she loved. Her tiny coffin was white, too white against the spring grass. I placed her favorite teddy bear inside, the one she used to whisper secrets to. The same one she said could keep her safe when she was asleep. When they lowered her, it felt like they were lowering every reason I had to breathe. But even in that unbearable silence, I could almost hear her voice. "Don't cry too much. Look at the rain and smile." And I did, because I had promised. After she was gone, the penthouse returned to its old quiet self. immaculate, empty, echoing. But it wasn't the same. Nothing was. The fridge was bare now, save for a single drawing, one she made weeks before she got sick. It showed three figures under a sun: a little girl, a man, and a woman, all holding hands. Above them she'd written in clumsy crayon letters, "Mommy, Daddy, and me, together again someday." I stared at it for hours. That was the day I realized something. Dorothy's story wasn't meant to end in sadness. It was meant to change something in the world she left behind. So I changed everything. I resigned as CEO of Barton Tech. The board was shocked, of course. They tried to stop me, offered more money, more control, even sympathy I didn't want. But I walked away. Instead, I used my fortune to create something else. The Dorothy Foundation, dedicated to helping children with congenital heart diseases, children who might not have another chance unless someone gave it to them. Hospitals began calling it the Letter Project, because every child who recovered was asked to write a letter, not of thanks, but of hope, to another child still fighting. In the first year, we saved 43 children. And every time I visited one of them, I saw Dorothy's reflection in their smiles, their courage, their unshakable light. One evening, months later, I returned to the hospital where she spent her last days. The nurse, the same kind woman who'd cared for her, handed me something. "Mr. Barton," she said softly, "we found this in her old locker. She must have hidden it for you." It was a small folded note, taped to a paper heart. I opened it carefully. "Dear Daddy, I asked Mommy if heaven has letters. She said maybe. So I'll send this one through the stars. When you look up and it's raining, that means I'm saying hi again. And if you ever get lonely, don't forget to help other kids smile. That's how I'll know you're okay. Love forever. Your little girl, Dorothy." I stood there for a long time, the city lights glimmering beyond the window. Rain began to fall again, gentle, soft, almost like a whisper from above. And for the first time since she left, I smiled. Years passed. The Dorothy Foundation became a symbol of hope across the country. Hospitals partnered with us. Research accelerated. Children who had no chance now had futures. But for me, the world remained divided, half in sunlight, half in memory. Until one day, I received a letter in the mail. It had no return address, just a single line on the envelope. "She'd be proud." Inside was a photo, an old one of Nancy, Dorothy's mother, standing on a pier, holding a baby wrapped in a blanket. Me in the background, years before everything went wrong. I don't know who sent it, maybe fate itself, but I took it as a message. The circle was complete. Now every year on the anniversary of her passing, I go back to that same cherry tree. I bring two letters, one from me, and one from a child the foundation has helped. I read them aloud to the wind, to the blossoms, to her. And every time, without fail, it rains soft, cleansing, and golden under the sunset. The petals fall like blessings. The earth smells of spring and memory. I close my eyes, feeling the drops on my skin. It doesn't feel like loss anymore. It feels like love, still alive in a different form. Because somewhere, beyond all of this, I know a little girl with a paper heart is watching. Smiling, telling her mommy, "See, Daddy did it, we helped." And that's when I whisper back, "I love you, Dorothy, you saved me."